Are you having upper trapezius pain in this region, up in this area? This is a common complaint of a lot of people. Some of it we can correct with some simple exercises. My name is Tom Lohman, physical therapist from Apex Orthopedic Rehabilitation in Wyckoff, New Jersey. We're going to show you a couple stretches you can do for this common area of discomfort, pain, achiness. It's probably one of the most common things I hear people complain about in the clinic when we're talking about neck and upper back pain, is pain in this upper trapezius region. If you happen to be in the upper Jersey, North New York area, you could actually get an evaluation if you're having trouble with this and these exercises don't help you out and you're kind of struggling with this. Keep that in mind. You can see all the information in the description below. All right, off to explaining about the anatomy. So the upper trap or upper trapezius muscle basically attaches right to the base of the skull here and attaches across spine of the scapula, a little bit into the clavicle, down to the acromion, really the tip here. And it essentially extends right here. So when you're sitting and a little bit more forward, this muscle gets put on stretch. So this is a normal posture, this is a normal curvature of our spine. We're a little bit more forward, so this muscle that's attaching here gets put on stretch, okay? And it can be a source of pain. It's trying to hold that neck in a slightly forward position compared to being more stacked and more upright. So we think that's part of the reason why that muscle has trouble. Also, in this more forward head position, it also affects some of the joints up here, that they're in a forward displaced position, and we're just trying to correct that with a couple exercises that we're going to show you. We think that's the problem, and as these joints, are in a stressful position, it causes the muscles that are attaching there to be increased tone or almost spasm or tightness, and they become an origin of pain. So once we correct the spinal position, those muscles kind of can relax and they can essentially be more comfortable, okay? A lot of people will go and do different type of massage in this area, which are fine, but if the origin of the problem is coming from the spinal position, it'll probably get tight again. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get a good position before we start our exercises, okay? Get nice and upright. You want to have, so you have a little bit of an arch in your back, so slide into the back of the chair and get a little upright. Sometimes I'll have people use a little roll or towel and place it in the lower back like that, so they're a little bit more upright when they start the stretch. So the first one, we're going to assume that, over time we tend to kind of slouch. This is why we think this commonly occurs. We're in more of a lot of us are in computers, we're in IT, we're at computers for long periods, now Zoom calls now, and we're kind of forward. So we're going to try and correct that posture and see if we can put you in a better position, kind of better balanced. If we were a society where we're standing all the time, we probably wouldn't have as much of these problems, but we're much more sedentary, we're sitting for long periods. So that's why I think we developed this kind of forward head posture, which stresses the upper trap. Okay, so the first one is we want to make sure we're nice and upright. We get that roll in there, we slide back, and we kind of get our chest out, ears over the tip of our shoulders, tip of the shoulders kind of over our hip bones right here, okay? So that's the first starting point, because some of this we can correct just by being aware of our position. So the first exercise is the cervical retraction, okay? It's the most common exercise. We basically want to pull our chin straight back like we're on a railroad ties like this, and go back like that. And we can do it without pushing it, or we can add a little pressure through two fingers, but you want to get to the very end. So you apply pressure on, and then pressure off. And if you can't get to the point where this is almost flattening or overcorrecting, like if you're to here and you can't get past this position, then that's something we definitely want to work on. Some people will actually take a video and they'll video themselves from the side if someone helps them out, and they can see if they have a loss of motion. And you'll say, wow, there's probably a chance this exercise might help me. So they call it a cervical retraction, so straight back and then release. And you can do this about 10 times every 2 hours to kind of break the cycle. Eventually it just becomes maintenance. So you do this about 5 times a day, okay? So the first one is cervical retraction and then release, and you add a little pressure at the end, so you go, oh, can't go any further. The second exercise is a cervical retraction with extension, okay? So it's the first exercise, retract, then release your hand, and then you don't hold the retraction. You just let your head fall back and let the weight of the head create the stretch. Go all the way back as far as you can, and you can even add a little wiggle at the top. And then back down. And over time, you're going to do the same thing about 10 times. So 10 of the cervical retractions, then 10 of the cervical retractions extension. You can do it right in one session. It's pretty quick. Like I said, early stages, you could actually do it more than every 2 hours if it really feels good. It should never make this feeling in this upper trap area feel worse, okay? So those are the 2 foundation exercises, and the most common ones we give out. It's by no means the only solution to this problem, but it's a great starting point. It should never make you feel worse. A sign that is actually improving a little bit is that you'll notice that the pain starts moving out of the trap. Let's say it's into the shoulder, into the trap right here. And then it becomes, you'll say, hey, Tom, I'm feeling it just here. It's more here, but it's not spread out as much into these areas. That's a sign that we're going in the right direction. If we're starting to notice it's in the upper trap, but now it's kind of more in my arm here more, and I'm feeling kind of weird feelings down here, then you're not doing the exercise right, or it's not the right exercise for you. Okay, so keep that in mind when you do these 2 foundation exercises. So as much as we're moving neck here, we're trying to get that cervical spine less forward and more upright. We have the vertebrae here, cervical vertebrae, 1, 2, all the way down to C7 vertebrae. So we go all the way down here. But we also have the upper thoracic, which is right around here. Okay, so from the lower right when we have the rib connections here, all the way to here, that's the upper thoracic. So we're going to stretch that a little bit with the next stretch we're going to do right in sitting. So you can knock these all out while we're sitting down. So the thoracic, as we move backwards like that, this region, so we'll count it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this one right here is our thoracic all the way down here. We're going to do a thoracic stretch to help you move that upper area. There's more motion in the cervical spine, but moving the thoracic and trying to loosen up that mobility there, that can really make a difference also in how well the first 2 exercises work. So the first 2 are very important. The thoracic extension also helps us sit up a little taller. We kind of want to prevent that kind of hump that some people develop, that forward inclination as we age. So it's important just for general posture to kind of help you out with these. Okay, so the way you do this one, I like to bring this roll up a little higher. This is kind of and sometimes I'll even take like some rubber bands and kind of tie it together, or you can take even a ball and place it in the upper back area. But this one you're going to go a little higher, okay? And we're trying to create a fulcrum. So a little point where the upper chair or whatever roll you use here, sometimes you can use these like, foam rollers even, it's just a little awkward in the chair. You're trying to create a fulcrum here that they kind of come over and create that stretch all the way back like that. So this one, I'll take my hands, I'll kind of lock my neck down, because what we're trying to get is motion below where my hands are. So you interlace your hands, this, lock it in, and you want to lean back on that. You should feel like you're really hitting a stopping point. You're going to go back as far as you can, get a good stretch. What adds to the stretch is to get a little breath through your nose and breathe out. 1, 2, and then forward. All the way back, breathe in, breathe out, 1, 2. So why do we have the breath? The breath merely causes a little bit more expansion of the rib cage. And since the ribs have attachments, the ribs actually attach to portions of the thoracic spine, like you can see up here. By getting the ribs to expand and move a little bit, it kind of jostles the thoracic spine a little bit and gives a little extra stretch. If you don't want to do the breath, it's not the end of the world, but it adds a little nuance to it, and it feels good. Some people are very shallow breathers, and we don't get that good expansion. It just makes you feel good too. So this is a great one to add that little stretch when you're doing that. So there's a lot of people that talk about posture being the root of evil, like any particular posture is not good for you. When you're starting in the early stages and you're trying to break this cycle of, let's say, neck and upper back pain, and you're working on that, sometimes you need to kind of correct the posture for a little while and avoid certain postures for too long. We're just spending too much time in one particular posture. It's not that it's wrong, because we have to go forward at times, we have to look up at times, but what we tend to do in our society is we lean too far forward. We're always kind of sitting and flexed. And I think it's gotten, especially with the devices and such, it's become more and more prevalent. So all we're trying to do is just move it around. So a little couple tips just at the end too. Some people will use standing desks, and they'll say, well, the standing desk is the cure for this problem. I'll stand up, I'll be more upright. That's okay, but I actually really like a variety of different positions. Standing, kneeling, going on an exercise ball, using a stool when you're using a standing desk. I want to constantly have you kind of fidget. I always say my ADD people probably have less neck and back pain because they're constantly moving and fidgeting. And that's what I like to have you do. So also, in addition to doing these exercises, every half hour I just want you to stand up, move around a little bit, do a couple shoulder pinches, just kind of change your position, and then sit back down. realize that neck problems there's many factors that contribute. We're only talking about the stretching and mechanical. There's stress, there's sleep issues, nutritional, there can be some strength deficits, all these other things, emotional stress, not being happy with your work environment, family environment, all those things can be influencing neck and upper back pain, okay? We're talking about the mechanical ones. Once we take care of these and say, hey, Tom, I got great mobility, this is working great, maybe there's something else we need. Maybe we need some strengthening or stability, okay, which we're going to show in another video, some things you can work on as far as if mobility isn't changing, what we're doing here, maybe strengthening, look for our next video on that. And also look at other aspects of your life as far as stress. Is there certain triggers that typically trigger your neck or upper trap pain? But there's other things to consider with that, which we'll talk in future videos. Listen, I hope this helps you out and you got some more information to make better decisions, and you won't be relying on medications or injections or necessary tests by just doing a little corrections to your lifestyle, and you should just feel a little bit better. Okay, have a great day.